Welcome back to another episode of Birdies, Bogeys, Bushwood. I'm Magnum and I'm flying solo this week to break down the 2026 American Express, the second event of the 2026 PGA Tour season. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Birdies, Bogeys, Bushwood. The show is presented by Seize the Gap Fantasy Football. Find our content wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Find us on social media at Seize the Gap FF and on the web at seizethegapff.com. Simple and easy to remember, just like the flaps, FLAPS. Follow, like, and please subscribe. If you had fun, please remember to hit the thumb. And please be aware that we are not officially affiliated with DraftKings or the DraftKings Sportsbook, but we are getting our odds and wagers from there. Everything is accurate as of January 21st, 2026. Congratulations to Chris Goddard for taking down the Sony Open last week, but it is on to the American Express. This is being held at PGA West over 3 different golf courses, making it a very unique event. We've also got a Pro-Am going on for the first 3 rounds, so it's a little bit of a different tournament here. And let's dive in and see what we're working with. Like I said, this is being played at PGA West in La Quinta, California, over 3 different courses. Over the first 3 days of the event, each golfer will play each of the courses once. You have the main featured course, the stadium course, that is the par 72 Pete Dye design that all of the golfers who make the cut will be playing on Sunday. You also have the La Quinta Country Club course and the Nicklaus Tournament courses, both of which are significantly easier than the stadium course. This week we have 156 professionals in the field. We cut down to the top 65 and ties after the first 54 holes, so not the usual 36-hole cut here. It's a 54-hole cut after all of the golfers have played each of the courses once. The purse is slightly up from last week. We have $9.2 million in prizes to be distributed. The winner is going to take home about $1.65 million and 500 FedEx Cup points. So not a bad way to kick off the season for a lot of the golfers making their first start. The defending champion is Sepp Straka, who took it down last year at 25 under. No Jamie G this week, so it falls to me to do the weather forecasting. Always make sure that you check for the latest updated weather before finalizing any wagers or lineups. Good news for you is this week it looks like you're not going to have to worry about the weather too much. I highly doubt it's going to be a factor. Every day pretty much sees a high somewhere in the low to mid 70s. Minimal winds probably topping out at 5 to 10 miles an hour on Saturday. Maybe just the occasional cloud in the sky, but for the most part, it looks like it's going to be a beautiful week to play golf in California. As far as my overall thoughts on the courses, the 2 easier courses, the La Quinta and the Nicklaus, are going to make this into pretty much a birdie fest. Yes, the stadium course is certainly a little bit tougher. This is a spot where you might want to play more showdown contests on DFS this week as opposed to the usual 4-round tournaments, because you can pick and choose then more accurately which golfers will be playing on which courses. And again, if you are playing in the showdown contest, you are most definitely going to want to go with golfers on the La Quinta and Nicklaus courses. The stadium course isn't unbeatable, but it's so much more difficult than the other 2 that it just makes more sense to avoid when possible. Obviously, works best in a showdown format where you're only dealing with 1 round. Also a little bit tough to evaluate overall as we only have shot length data for the stadium course, so we're kind of flying blind on the other 2, but again, do not expect either track to really offer much resistance to these pros. You're probably looking at a winning score somewhere in the minus 25 range, all the way up to minus 30, especially given the nice weather. Not really a bomb and gouge kind of approach here. Having distance off the tee hasn't really correlated well to success at the event overall. Certainly doesn't hurt, but it's really more important here that you find fairways and that you have ball strikers who are going to hit greens and guys who can get hot with the putter. You can't get to 25 under without making some putts. So you need golfers who have really at least shown the ability to get very hot with the putter. So that means we're generally looking for golfers who have dominated or at least played very well in some of these easier to score events. This is a spot where you could see a random golfer take this down fairly easily. If you go back and look at the leaderboard in the winners over the past decade or so. Obviously, John Rahm sticks out. I think you had a Patrick Reed in there. Obviously, Sepp Straka had himself a decent season last year, but I don't think anybody had him winning coming into it. So might be a good spot to look a little bit further down on your cards, especially because we have Scotty Scheffler back in the field and everything is going to revolve around him this week. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, especially from a DFS standpoint. Do you want to pay up for Scotty Scheffler or not? On DraftKings, he is 14,200, massively expensive, almost $4,000 more expensive than the next most expensive golfer. And if you look at the betting market, not much different. I believe he's plus 295 to win right now. Next closest golfers all the way around plus 2,000. So there is a tremendous gap between Scheffler and everybody else here. It's not going to get all the way into the DFS stuff yet, but I think it's a spot where you want to have a sprinkling of exposure, but you're going to have to be careful because the way Scheffler is priced, he pretty much at minimum needs to finish in the top five to come anywhere close to paying it off for you this week, be it on DraftKings or in the betting market. And again, you got the three-course rotation here. Don't be afraid to go with more showdown contest in your mix this week. You could do the same thing with your wagering, although most of the wagers, my guess is they're going to structure them in a way, especially with the matchup wagers, that you'll have golfers competing against each other on the same course. So maybe not as much of an advantage to be gained there, probably something to lean a little bit more into on DraftKings. And again, how your lineups look on DK is ultimately going to come down to whether or not you play Scotty Scheffler. You can certainly make it work if you plug it in there, but if not, I think you're really going to like the way your lineups look. It's very easy to build out some nice kind of balanced builds here, or you don't go nuts. Maybe your most expensive golfer is, high nines, low tens, and you're not trying to necessarily a double or triple jam two guys at the top of the pricing scale in there. So overall, an interesting week. Don't get over your skis. Again, it's early in the season. This is a pro-am taking place over a three-course rotation, so kind of expect the unexpected here. Everything sets up well for a fun event to watch. Again, it's fun to watch guys, score birdies to go low. Maybe sometimes if we actually play real golf in real life, you appreciate watching these pros struggle. That's the fun of watching a U.S. Open or Open Championship or something like that, because it makes it feel like these guys are human. They're just like all of us out there, kind of having to duff it out, out of the sand trap or chip out from behind the tree coming off the tee like 10 out of every 15 holes. I may or may not have that problem personally. As far as the DraftKings analysis this week, like I said, it's all going to flow downhill from Scotty Scheffler at 14,200. He is number one with a bullet in my model in almost every metric you're looking at. But bear in mind, he hasn't had the greatest history here. It's not like he's been terrible. But if you look back over his last five appearances here, he's finished tied for seventh, tied for 11th, tied for 25th, miscut, and then a third place finish. So not bad, but definitely not a world beater. I would expect him to do probably a little bit better than this here, given that he has really kind of turned the corner from his last appearance, which was 2 years ago. He was supposed to play in this last year, but remember he had the ravioli incident, so didn't wind up playing his first event until later in the season. As far as me personally, I'm certainly going to have some exposure. I think I'm probably going to put him in my primary cash game lineup. I think you can make it work. He's probably not going to make my primary single entry tournament lineup, and I'll have some exposure in large field tournaments, but he is projecting closer to that 30-ish% range, and I will probably be somewhere between 10 and 15%. I definitely want to have a sprinkling. I just think given the random nature of this event, again, the three-course mix, the Birdie Fest, the Pro-Am, putting it all together here, I think it just makes sense to not go absolutely crazy given where Scheffler is priced up at 14,200. Just a little bit too rich for my blood. Even if it was like 13.5, you'd be amazed how much you can do with that extra $700. So for the most part, I'm definitely going to be under the field on Scheffler, but there's no way I'm going to go with a full-on fade here. I wish I was that bold, but I am not. If you are not paying up for Scheffler, all the other great options are generally right up there at the top of the pricing scale. Patrick Cantlay's 10,400. He came in fourth in my model. Ben Griffin's 10,200. He came in second in my model. And Mr. Burns, Sam Burns is 9,800. He came in third in my model. All of these players have good history here. They've had at least two top 11 finishes over the last four seasons. If I was going to rank them personally, I think this week I would have Griffin at one, Burns at two, and then Cantlay at three. I think Griffin offers the best combination of everything here. Also played well at the Sony, so he's got that going for him. He's actually only second to Scheffler in strokes gained in these easy scoring conditions. So this is a place that suits him really well. Played good enough at the Sony for me to feel comfortable paying up for him as an alternative to Scheffler. Sam Burns is another guy who is probably at his absolute best in a birdie fest type of condition. He has the combination of ball striking and putting that we're looking for here. So even though he can be wildly inconsistent, you don't care about that much in a tournament where you're really looking for ceiling as opposed to floor. You want the highest range of outcomes. You don't really care if he plays bad because if he just plays kind of middle of the road or poorly, not going to really do enough for you to cash anyway. And there's no way I'm going to completely fade Cantlay. But I think if he plays well, he's just destined to finish like tied for third or fourth here. That just feels like who he's been over the past couple of seasons. He should, by all rights, be in the mix here. He looks very good in the model. The approach game is gone a little bit hectic from time to time, but he finished out the 2025 season strongly. No reason to really go against him here, but he still would be number three for me if I'd rank him again. Griffin one, Sam Burns two, and then Cantlay would be down at three. As far as a few other players I like kind of in this 8 to 9K range, you have Siwoo Kim down at 9K flat. He came in ninth in my model. He is a former champion here, won this back in 2021, coming off the tied for 11th last week at the Sony. Another player is a little bit of a bob, a boom or bust option, but with the solid history here, I think he makes for an excellent tournament play. The price point's very fair here at 9K. And then I also really like Alex Noren this week. He is 8,800, came in 15th in the model. He finished tied for 25th and losing he finished tied for second, losing to Hideki Matsuyama in a playoff at the Hero World Championship back in December. So the form is there. He didn't make his first start last year until July. Played a little bit sparingly coming off of injury, but he's a good enough ball striker to get it done here, and he's a guy who can make a ton of putts right at home in a birdie fest. So really excited about Alex Noren here at 8,800. And then you have JT Poston down at 8K flat. He came in 26 in the model. He is probably one of the better lower priced course horses here. In his last four appearances, he's finished 12th, 11th, 6th, and 25th. So he's finished in the top 25 each of the last 4 years here, with three top 12 finishes mixed in. A little bit of a streaky player. We'll see a little bit more ownership. He'll be a little bit more owned, a little bit more priced up than he typically would be, but I don't mind mixing him in. This 8K price point is really sweet here. Allows you to do quite a bit, so I'm definitely going to have a fair amount of exposure to Poston in tournaments this week. As far as golfers I like in the 7K range, right up top you have Daniel Berger at 7,800, came in 10th in the model, looked to be in good form last week, finished tied for 6th at the Sony, finished tied for 21st here last year. Another guy who's an excellent ball striker, pretty good on the greens. The main drawback from him was missing time with medical issues. Does seem to have everything in order now, and he could definitely get off to a hot start to the season and see his price point rise quite a bit over the next month or so. So it might be a good time to buy back in on Daniel Berger, both on DraftKings and in the betting market. Nick Taylor disappointed a touch maybe last week in his defense at the Sony. Did not win, but still finished tied for 13th. Not too bad. And he followed up his win at the Sony last year with a tied for 12th here. Doesn't look that great in the model. 7,700, came in 44th in the model. But I like the combination of ball striking and putting here. He's going to be flying a little bit under the radar. I wish he was $200 or $300 cheaper, but I don't mind paying up for Nick Taylor in tournaments at 7,700. And then you have one that's going to be a little bit tough to pull the trigger on. Christian Bezuidenhout, he is 7,700, came in 5th in my model. He really struggled last year. That's putting it kindly. Did seem to put things together a little bit on the fall swing. Not sure how much of that he can carry over, but he is a tremendous fit for this course, as evidenced by his appearances previous to last year when he missed the cut. Before that, he had finished tied for second and 11th. So you can tell that this course fits him well. He is not going to pick up that much ownership because of his form from last season. I think he is a perfect guy to take a chance on tournaments. So going to have a lot of exposure to Christian B this week. And Will Zalatoris is another guy returning from injury. He is 7,600, came in 123rd in the model, but that's not surprising considering he hadn't played on the tour since May of last year, I believe. He did compete at the Hero Championship, looked pretty decent doing so there. So I don't mind taking a chance on him here on a course where he's had some success at very low ownership in $7,600. Last four appearances here, he's finished 12th, 34th, 36th, and 6th. Nice kind of combination of floor and ceiling there. So I like Will Z at 7,600. Denny McCarthy is a master with the flat stick. 7,500, came in 12th in the model. Finished tied for 6th here back in 2022. He can get it done in some of these easier conditions. Not the longest guy off the tee. Maybe not the most pristine ball striker, but he's good enough. And if he can get on the green, he can certainly make money with the flat stick here. So if this turns into a putting contest, Denny McCarthy would be a great guy to have in your tournament lineups at 7,500. Not impossible that he makes my cash game lineup either. Just kind of depends on how far down I'm willing to go for my cheapest play. Another great tournament play is Sammy Valimaki. He is 7,300, came in 35th in my model. Willing to go against the grain a little bit in terms of event history. He missed the cut here each of the last 2 years, but he is a ball striker who absolutely thrives in these easier, lower scoring events. So I really like Valimaki here. Also went on a little bit of a run during the fall swing. Actually won the RSM, finished tied for second at the Worldwide Technology Championship. So he's got some good finishes in his very recent history. So really liking Valimaki here. Another guy who's not going to pick up a ton of ownership at 7,300. And then we have Matt McCarthy, 7,200, came in sixth in my model. Definitely surprised me a little bit. He also missed the cut here last year, but this is a case where I'm willing to trust my eyes and the model. He has the combination of all the skill sets that we want. Hasn't exactly put them all together at the right time, but he is a great ball striker who is at his best in these kind of birdie fests. So like Matt McCarthy as well at 7,200.
Take it from me. I am a doctor. Dr. Toboggan. Mantis Toboggan.
It'd be nice to find a little value on this slate. So let's go dumpster diving with our guy, Dr. Mantis Toboggan. The man knows his way around a dumpster. First value play from the dock here. We're going back to the well with Mac Meisner once again. 6,900, came in 11th in the model. Finished tied for 68th here last year, tied for 40th last week at the Sony. Nothing really to write home about, but he looks just to be a very good fit for the course. Kind of been grinding away. It feels like he is going to break through with a top 10, something like that, sooner or later. So I don't mind taking a chance on Meister at 6,900 in minimal ownership. Dropping down a little bit further, you have Lee Hodges at 6,700, came in 30th in my model. Picking up some momentum after finishing tied for sixth at the Sony last week. Finished tied for 34th here last year and tied for third here back in 2022. So he's also got a little bit of a course history going on. A nice combination here of the statistical profile, the recent form, and the course history. So like Lee Hodges quite a bit at 6,700. Just be aware he will probably be one of the higher owned players in this price range. Going back to the well once again with Bud Colley, 6,700. Only came in 82nd in the model, but I'm willing to forgive that. His recent history is a little bit screwed up again due to medical issues. He is a phenomenal ball striker who can get hot with the putter. That's exactly the kind of tournament play we're looking for down here in the dumpster at 6,700. And then finally, how about Jackson Suber? He is only 6,400, came in 77th in my model. Looked like he was on the verge of a breakthrough last season at 3 top 10 finishes to go along with 6 top 20s. He has a profile that makes it look like he would be a good fit here. His only real weakness has been around the green. That should not be much of a factor here, where if he can get the ball striking going, he should have a lot of clean looks at birdies. So he might be one of the absolute cheaper guys I get to this week at 6,400. So shout out to Dr. Toboggan here, digging in the dumpster for us. The 4 dumpster dives for the American Express. Mac Meisner at 6,900, Lee Hodges at 6,700, Bud Colley at 6,700, and Jackson Suber at 6,400. We put in our lineup, so now it's time to place our bets. We're going to have a little bet it, bake it, blow it here as we get our wager on for the American Express. Please remember, we're getting odds and wagers from the Draftkings Sportsbook. Everything is accurate as of January 21st, 2026. Here on Bet It, Bank, and Blow It, our preferred currency is the Cricket coin. In Cricket, we trust, so all of our wagers will be in the form of Cricket coins. First up, we have our position propositions. These are just a couple of position wagers my co-host Jamie G and myself will be making each week. Jamie G could not make it today. We had a combination of technology issues and a work thing, so I have his picks here. Last week for the position propositions, we each turned a small profit, just over 8 Cricket coins, so booked a win of a little bit over 16 Cricket coins. It ain't much, but it's nice to get started on the right foot. We will each be making one top 5, top 10, and top 20 finishing position wager. All of these are including ties, and we're putting 25 coins on the top 5, 50 coins on the top 10, and 100 coins on the top 20 wager. I will lead off with Jamie G's pick, starting with his top five finisher, including ties. He wants to get kissed by a rose. Jamie G has 25 cricket coins on Justin Rose to finish in the top five, again, including ties. That's plus 950, so a wager of 25 coins to bring back about 263. I love it. Rose is a perfect kind of Bob here. He certainly has that boom or bust profile. He could get you a top five. He could miss the cut. Just about anything in between, but at plus 950, I think it's a great spot to take a chance on getting kissed by a rose. For his top 10, Jamie G has 50 coins on Russell the Love Muscle, Russell Henley to finish in the top 10, again, including ties. This is plus 230, so 50 coins to bring back about 165. Didn't mention him during the DFS stuff, but Henley is another guy who has a very strong profile here. Played well enough at the Sony, good course history, so a lot to like about Russell Henley this week. Then finally, for his top 20, Jamie G is going to take a chance on one of the guys with some of the better course history here, Patrick Cantlay. Jamie G has 100 cricket coins on Patrick Cantlay to finish in the top 20 plus ties. That's plus 125, so a wager of 100 coins brings back 225 coins. As far as myself, for my top five wager, I'm going to go with Patrick Cantlay. Why not, right? He's come kind of close to this. Came in fourth in the model, finished tied for fifth here last year, tied for ninth in 2022. Not asking for a ton. Finished second in 2021. So 25 coins on Cantlay to finish in the top five plus ties. That's plus 550. So bringing back about 163 coins. And like I said, that just feels like what's going to happen, right? Even if he plays well, he's going to finish like tied for fourth. So I think a top five bet is the way to play Cantlay this week. For my top 10 wager, I'm going to stretch a little bit here. I'm going to put 50 coins on our man Christian Bezuidenhout to finish in the top 10, including ties. So 50 coins on that at plus 600 will bring you back 350 coins. I already talked about him already. Pretty much just going to trust the model, trust the course history, hope that he has turned things around from last season, as it looked like he was in the process of doing over the fall swing. Then finally, for my top 20 wager, I'm going to just eat a little bit of chalk here. I'm going to put my 100 cricket coins on Ben Griffin to finish in the top 20 plus ties. That is minus 110, so 100 coins to bring back about 191. Again, came in second in the model, finished top 10 here each of the last 2 years, tied for 19th at the Sony. Lots to love about Ben Griffin this week. Going to stop being greedy, just asking for the top 20, not even going to push it with the top 10. Next up, we have our matchup wagers. These can be anything from a head-to-head to a tournament group with 5 or 6 golfers. Last week only had one offering. A tournament group definitely did not go well. Was on Echevarria. He missed the cut, so I had that only wager. Had 100 coins on it, so we lost 100 coins last week, down 100 for the season on our matchup wagers. This week, once again, only one option here. Just not a lot of on the menu here over on DraftKings in terms of the matchup wagers. Just going to go with a tournament trio. So there are 3 golfers in this group playing it out over the 4 rounds. Whoever plays the best, finishes the best, is the champion. If there's a tie, dead heat rules apply. The tournament trio is Ricky Fowler at plus 175, Harris English at plus 175, and Alex Noren also at 175. Probably not rocket science here. Noren's the only guy you've heard me mention thus far. That's what I'm going with here. I don't really like Harris English here. Not really doing it for me. And I've just been going against Ricky Fowler for a while. Another guy who played a little bit better towards the end of the season last year, but going against Fowler has worked for the last couple of seasons. So till it burns me, going to keep going back to the well. So I have 100 cricket coins on Alex Noren here to take down the tournament trio at plus 175. 100 coins to bring back 275 cricket coins. Find the closest cart girl because it's time to partay. Here on Bet It, Bank It, Blow It, we like to have a parlay partay. It's a lot of fun. You can win a lot of money, but you need a parlay to get in the door. Last week we had one offering and we were actually successful. I had 100 coins on a 3-leg top 20 finishing position parlay. Had Russell Henley, Hideki Matsuyama, Nick Taylor. All 3 got there, so turned our 100 coins into 741. So turned a profit last week of 641 cricket coins in the parlay partay. So we're up 640 41 through 1 week. This week, I have the only offering for the partay. We're going to try to change this up a little bit based on the tournament, the field, everything involved. This week, we have access to Scotty Scheffler, so we're going to mix him in, but we're going to, anticipate that Scotty Scheffler plays pretty well. This is a three-leg mixed finishing position parlay. Leg number one, we have Scotty Scheffler to finish in the top five, including ties. All legs will be including ties. That's minus 140 for Scheffler to finish in the top five. Legs number two and three are both top 20s, including ties. We have Patrick Cantlay to finish in the top 20 at plus 125, and Alex Noren to finish in the top 20 plus 185. Again, all of these are including ties. So you parlay those legs together. Scheffler top five, Cantlay and Noren to finish in the top 20. Your odds are plus 999. So if you wager 100 cricket coins, you're bringing back about 1,100 coins. That would be a nice way to get into the season. 2 weeks, two hits in a row. We love it. It would be worth throwing a partay over. That brings us to our one and done picks and recommendations for the American Express. Pretty much the same as last week, a little bit more in the purse here, 9.2 million. The winner's taking home about 1.65 million. That's fine, but again, given the nature of this event and this purse, I don't think this is a spot where you're really going to want to go too much towards the top of the pricing scale here, towards the bottom of the odds. I think this is a spot where you're obviously going to want to keep Scotty Scheffler in your holster. I'm going to give you three recommendations here. One for those of you in smaller one and done contests, let's call it 100 entries or less. One for those of you in medium contests, call it 500 entries to 100 entries. And then one for those of you in larger contests, more than 500 entries. If you are in a small one and done, I think it's a great week to go with Siwoo Kim plus 3,500. Already talked about him. He's a good enough golfer that you don't feel like you're wasting him here. He's going to be in consideration a lot of weeks, but very rarely you're going to be like, I want to take Siwoo Kim this week. Coming off the strong play at the Sony, good history here. Looks like a great spot to deploy him in your smaller one and done contests. If you are in a medium-sized contest, maybe take a shot on JT Poston. He's plus 6,500 to win. Again, this is pretty much a course horse play. 12th, 11th, 6th, and 25th over his last 4 years here. He certainly likes playing here. He can certainly handle the format, the course rotation, the pro-am, all of it. And you kind of need to take a few more chances when you get into these medium-sized contests. So I think Poston, very good way to go here. Not sure when else you're going to use him. We have seen him have tournament winning upside, so why not go with him in a place he feels comfortable? Probably not going to pick up much ownership. And then finally, if you are playing in a large one and done contest, you're going to have to take some chances here. I think you go off the chart here a little bit. I'm saying maybe take a chance on Brian Harman. Have not mentioned him yet. He is plus 12,000 to win. He is a guy who is absolutely at his best in these Birdie Fest type of conditions. Missed the cut here the last 2 years, but finished third and eighth back in 2022, 2021. So he certainly has some upside on these tracks. He is a very streaky golfer. You usually want to kind of ride the wave while he's hot. Finished tied for 61st last week at the Sony. So I don't really know that moves the needle, but I think this is a perfect spot to take a chance on a golfer like him. So why not take a chance on Harman? So there are your one and done recommendations. If you're in a smaller contest, consider Siwoo Kim at plus 3,500. In a medium contest, how about JT Poston at plus 6,500? And if you are in a large contest, maybe go deep with Brian Harman at plus 12,000. The final order of business is to give mine and Jamie G's picks for our Birdies, Bogeys, Bushwood one and done contest. Last week, Jamie G got right out to the lead. He was on Daniel Berger, finished tied for seventh. He brought home about 287 grand, and I was on Captain America, Keegan Bradley. He missed the cut, so I brought back zero. So I'm already down almost 300 grand after 1 week. Jamie G is going to go with one of the guys with a fantastic name. Golfers always have fantastic names, but it's hard to do much better than Michael Thorbjornsen. Absolutely outstanding name here. He's plus 4,500 to win. Did not mention him, but he's an interesting tournament play on DK. I like Jamie G. He's kind of digging a little bit deeper here. Last year he got in a little bit of trouble. Still beat me, but he basically burned through all of his best options by the end of June. So I like that he's taking a little bit more of a tactical approach here. It worked with Berger last week. We'll see if it can pay off here with Thorbjornsen. And I'm just going to stick with the guy I recommended for the smaller contest. Give me Siwoo Kim here, plus 3,500. Put my money where my mouth is. Thank you for putting your ears or your eyeballs, or hopefully both, on this episode of Birdies, Bogeys, Bushwood. Really appreciate it. Any questions, anything we can help you out with, anything we screwed you over with, let us know in the comments. Hit us up on social media, all that good stuff. You know the drill. Good luck to you this week. Please remember that Birdies, Bogeys, Bushwood is presented by Seize the Gap Fantasy Football. Find our content wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Find us on social media at Seize the Gap FF and on the web at seizethegapff.com. Simple and easy to remember, just like those flaps, FLAPS. Follow, like, and please subscribe. If you had fun, please remember to touch that thumb. I'm Magnum Mills on behalf of myself and Jamie G. Want to tell you good luck. Hopefully we'll see you next week, and maybe we'll even catch you in between at the 19th hole.